sounds kind of spooky, knowing that, you know, this alarm is tracking your movements. But I guess in that country they have to do that because they're so concerned about the spread of coronavirus, which we've been talking about. Again, we don't want to panic, we don't want to overinflate it, but this is what countries are having to do now to ensure that this is not spreading.
You know what's amazing to me is just the logistics of managing this whole, I don't want to use the word pandemic. This particular season, this coronavirus season, because you don't really know how to term it at this point. But the logistics are just phenomenal, the things that you have to consider. You talk about moving parts. There are moving parts in so many areas, not just in healthcare, but in travel and in business. And look at the stock market.
The stock markets, yeah, once again, we've seen the volatility with the stocks going up and down. They went up because when Joe Biden we learned that he was the front runner. That sent the stock market back up. But look at it. You know, that didn't last very long because the coronavirus that tells you the coronavirus is overshadowing things, because usually the world looks to the American system. The American political system is obviously one of the most stable in the entire world. The US stock market is one of the most stable in the world. So when people see things happening there, it triggers the rest of the world. So the effect of Joe Biden was not enough to overshadow the effects of the global situation with coronavirus, and that's why we're seeing stocks down. Robinhood, I've actually used that app. I wasn't on it this time, but I can imagine that people were so upset because if you were trying to sell off and get rid of these stocks before you lost all your money, that's serious. And if you were trying to buy because you were trying to get into the market, that's serious. So again, a lot of things happening, a lot of moving parts that the coronavirus is affecting, because that's, you know, the people that caused the app to crash. So we're still watching it very closely and hoping that officials
will stabilize.
Yeah, will stabilize. But, you know, just understand, you know, there's still going to be a little bit of rocky, you know, road here and there, but they're working it out.
Absolutely.
Well, turning to something else, the first supermoon of the year is coming to a sky near you. This month, the full moon is also known as the worm moon. March's full moon will reach its full peak at 1:48 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday, March 9th, according to the Old Farmer's Almanac. This year, the March full moon will also be the first of 3 straight full moon supermoons and the year's second closest full moon overall, according to EarthSky. A supermoon occurs when the moon is especially close to the Earth while it's full, and the moon's closeness to Earth naturally makes it look extra big and extra bright, up to 14% bigger and brighter in the sky than a full moon, and its farthest point from Earth. So I'm one of those people, I love outer space and I love astronomy and I love all that kind of stuff. I always go out and I look at the full moon. I'm one of those people that gets energized from the full moon. But Jane, as you know, as being
in the mental health
being
field,
in mental health, that was they say people go cuckoo.
Well, no, it's not so much though. When I was young and I was working for the community mental health, during full moons, the workers, we would get a little bit anxious because the numbers would spike, and whether or not there was any research behind it or not. A lot of clinicians back in the old, I'm just saying this is back in the old days, I'm not saying this goes on now, always felt that there were so many chemical changes. And again, there is no research to back up what I'm saying.
There is actually.
Is there?
Well, let me tell you finish your thought and I'll tell you from a science point of view what I've read.
Right, well, at least back then, we were young clinicians, and what we saw was our numbers would go up and there would be so many referrals. So we would just get ready for the full moon and be ready for it to pass. It wasn't like a big, exciting event for us. For us, it meant just more work.
So the word, they would call people lunatics. So the word lunar comes from moon, the Latin word. So that's where that came from, where they would say people are turning into lunatics. That is definitely in history recorded. But what scientists say, and again, different scientists have different theories.
Different positions.
You're talking about the pull of gravity from the Earth, the source of energy. Remember, we get light, which is energy, and that's the type of thing that can affect you. Energy, like good or bad energy, just like how if you're in danger, you get that feeling of nervous energy. Everything gives off energy. So that's what they say when the full moon is like that and it's closest to Earth, you're feeling a stronger pull of gravitational force. You're feeling more energy. And for some people...
For you, it works.
For me, I'm loving it because it gives me more energy, and maybe that's why I'm all like full of energy today, because the full moon's coming. I don't know, but it's just kind of a fun thing to go outside and watch and see the big, beautiful, bright moon.
Absolutely. Well, still to come, see what's tonight's dinner recipe when Ladies First returns. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back. Today's Ladies First What's for Dinner dish is a mouth-watering pan-fried oyster dish. And I wish I could say it was mine, but it is not. This is a Southern classic dish that can serve up to 5 people. And originally, we've gotten the recipe from Edna Lewis from The Taste of Country Cooking. She's a wonderful, wonderful cook who, over 40 years, has written these nurtured recipes, and so she shares that with us today. And the ingredients are pretty easy. They include 4 eggs beaten, 1 teaspoon salt, 2 cups of plain cracker meal, 1 quart drained oysters, and not fresh lard anymore. We just don't use fresh lard. Right. But once you mix together and are ready to fry, you heat an aluminum skillet with 1/2 cup of, we use oil now, and when it reaches smoking point, you put the oysters in and fry them up until they are golden brown on both sides. Drain the oysters on a brown paper bag and enjoy. I think what's important about this particular recipe, though, is the author itself. She has a wonderful history, and she was born in Virginia. And, you know, like most cooks look at Betty Crocker. We grew up looking at Edna Lewis, and I think so many Southern cooks have had this in their library. And I think we took this recipe directly from her. And so as I was trying to carefully get through it, I knew this was not my recipe, but I think for so many families who grew up on fried oysters on Friday, and this is certainly, this is certainly a book you want to get in your library, and these oysters are simply scrumptious.
So we will put the name up of this. We'll put this on social media.
Absolutely.
Because this is, not too many people have actually books. I remember my mother would collect cookbooks, but so many people put recipes online. So we'll see if we can get some of that online. But that's amazing. That's a beautiful cookbook.
And she's got wonderful recipes from the Virginia area, and some from many of the properties around there. So she collected them all in one book, and this is like the 30th edition of it.
Wow, awesome. Wonderful. Well, stay with us. Ladies First, we'll be right back.
Well, welcome back, and this is going to be a wrap for Ladies First Thursday edition. I think today, Laverne, we'll leave today with the whole idea of grace and gratitude for the people that were giving back, Allen Iverson and the women who certainly covered the Atlanta Clarks, all these young girls. They were so happy to have all their loans paid up. So today's been quite a day.
It sure has. And we've talked a lot about coronavirus. Where we have word now that the Senate voted today to approve an $8.3 billion package to have a response package to the coronavirus. So once again, we've been saying the whole show, nothing to panic about. The government is taking care of it. We're keeping track of it. But we're going to talk more about that on BNC Prime News at 7. And also we will talk about mortgage rates because they've hit a record low as well. So if you're looking to refinance or buy a new home, this is probably a good time. So that's it for Ladies First tonight. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Kelly Wright is up next. And once again, I'll be back for BNC Prime News at 7.
And have a great night.